Good evening. I'm Chanel, vehicle title expert and owner of Wisdom and Authority Title Solutions, a title and tag agency in Chesapeake, Virginia. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tonight, I will be coming to you with a very important subject entitled Odometer Discrepancies. Odometer Discrepancies. This is a very serious subject. It's often found in the news, and many of you may have been involved in this type of situation yourself or know someone who has. So I will cover what an odometer discrepancy is, examples of odometer discrepancies, and what to do if you are involved in this type of issue. Before I get started, I want to say that when it comes to odometer reading issues, that this is actually a federal offense if you commit odometer fraud or you make mistakes on the odometer reading. Okay. The DMV will review this, of course, this type of situation, but sometimes, depending on the situation, it's taken to the federal level, and agents and whatnot at that level can be involved. It is a federal offense to play around with odometer readings or odometer data. So keep that in mind. It's a very serious thing. What is an odometer discrepancy? Okay, an odometer discrepancy is when a mistake, omission, alteration occurs pertaining to the odometer reading on the MCO or manufacturer certificate of origin, on a certificate of title, or title related documents. Okay, so those are reasons why it would be reviewed as a discrepancy. When it comes to this type of discrepancy, DMV is believing that you're not coming forth with, correct information, or you're leaving out information. So it's a possibility that you're trying to hide data, and it's not going to be sufficient to title your vehicle, because again, it's a possibility that the information is not forthcoming. Examples of odometer discrepancies would be simply not providing the information, so the odometer reading would be left blank. There's also an alteration or mistake with the odometer reading. For example, let's say the odometer reading is 180,000 miles. Okay, someone could take that 8 and change it into a 0, so it might look like it's 100,000 miles instead of 180,000 miles. So by you changing that 8 to a 0, that's a discrepancy. It's an alteration and fraud, because you're trying to conceal or hide data. Another example of odometer discrepancy is going to be a rollback. A rollback is when your odometer reading is going backwards. So when it comes to odometer readings, you can never go backwards. The odometer reading essentially has to go forward. So let's say on the front of your title, your odometer reading is 25,000 miles. But when you put the supporting paperwork in place, you see that it's 22,000 miles. Okay? So it's going backwards, rolling back. You have to start, if you bought this vehicle from a dealership, you need to look at the odometer disclosure statement. The odometer disclosure statement is the focal piece when it comes to odometer readings. You want to start there. That will let you know what the odometer reading should be with the paperwork you have. Now, keep in mind, if your odometer disclosure statement is incorrect, then it would need to be corrected to what the actual odometer reading is. But at least it sets the tone of what you can expect for the odometer reading for your transaction to be. Okay, so those are examples you want to be aware of when it comes to odometer discrepancy mistakes. What can you do if you find yourself involved in an odometer discrepancy issue? First off, if you bought your vehicle from an individual, it does help to get things in writing. Of course, it also helps to review the odometer for the vehicle yourself. Instead of relying upon pictures, make sure you go and look at the vehicle yourself. If the party is not complying, and after you bought the vehicle and you find there's a discrepancy, you will need to reach out to DMV. DMV supporting law enforcement agents as well as your attorney general for some sort of recourse in your state. If you bought your vehicle from a dealership, more recourse is available to you. Okay. Legitimate dealerships are licensed through the state. So they are going to do their best. Keywords, if they're legitimate dealerships, they're going to do their best to assist their customers because they do not want the dealer boards to investigate them or to put some type of penalty on their dealership, or worse, lose their license and face jail time for committing odometer fraud. So the dealership can give you corrected documents. They will go through the necessary channels to ensure that your odometer documents are correct and your readings on your paperwork for the odometer is in fact correct. Worst case, if the dealership is not willing to comply with your situation, reach out to the dealer board in that state or the attorney general for recourse regarding your situation. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Please check me out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for more updates. Click, share, and subscribe. Thank you, and see you soon.